I had written a few letters for the press, and just when I was about as broke as I could be, I received a letter from the Virginia City Territorial Enterprise offering me $25 a week to go and be a reporter on that paper. I could hardly believe it. That was a lot more than I had been paid at the stamp mill. If I had been offered the job of translating Josephus from the original Hebrew, I would have taken it. So I walked that 130 miles from the mining town of Aurora on the California border in pretty quick time and took the berth. When I arrived in Virginia City, I noticed what a rip-roaring town it was. I saw that there were fire companies, brass bands, banks, hotels, theaters, gambling palaces, parades, street fights, a dozen breweries, half a dozen jails in full operation, and some talk of building a church. When I walked into the newspaper office, my new co-workers had no idea who I was, had never seen me before. They didn't know if they were looking at a miner, a gunslinger, or a landlocked sailor. I was wearing the typical Western costume of blue woolen shirt, denim pants, slouch hat, and a Navy revolver stuffed into my belt. I also had a red beard hanging halfway down my chest and was carrying a bunch of blankets slung over my shoulder. I tramped into the newspaper office, collapsed into the first chair I came to, and after a while, with everyone there staring at me, I said, "Dang my buttons if I don't believe I'm lousy. My starboard leg seems to be unshipped. I'd like about 100 yards of line." Have you ever considered what straits reporters are sometimes pushed to in furnishing the public with news? Why, the first day items were so scarce, I couldn't find an item to report on anywhere, and just as I was on the verge of despair, as luck would have it, there came in a lot of emigrants with their wagon trains. They had been fighting with the Indians and had gotten the worst of it. I got the names of their killed and wounded, and then by and by there was another train came in. They hadn't had any trouble, and of course I was disappointed. But I did the best I could under the circumstances. I cross-examined the boss emigrant and found that they were going right on through and wouldn't come back to make trouble, so I got his list of names and added to my killed and wounded. And I got ahead of all the other papers that way. I put that wagon train through the bloodiest Indian fight ever seen on the plains. They came out of that conflict covered with glory. The chief editor said he didn't want any better reporter than I was. I said, "You just bring on your Indians and fetch out your emigrants and leave me alone, and I will make the fur fly. I will hang a scalp on every sagebrush between here and the Missouri border." By the way, it was while I was a reporter for the Territorial Enterprise that I started signing my dispatches as Mark Twain in 1863. As long as I stuck to reporting, I didn't get into too much trouble too often. But just as had happened before in other newspaper offices where I had worked as a printer, when I was given a little more rope, I ended up almost hanging myself with it.